Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to, because we've been up here and we've been looking at shapes or geometry, as it's called, um, we are going to record um, creating a snowman, which is very simple, but it shows you how you can group things together and stuff like that. So the first thing we need to do is we get our four views and we need to make a sphere. And what I want you to do is drag the sphere in your perspective viewport around about the middle and make it about, at this stage, let's say we make it at once you drag it out, like I have just then, let's make it a radius of 50 just for the hell of it. So put in 50. We'll leave all the other stuff there for now. So that's cool. Okay. So the thing about Max is that we're first going to position this guy in the middle of the world. So if you've created this sphere sort of in the center of your grid there, we're now going to hit our W on our keyboard, the shortcut for the move tool. For some reason, it didn't want to do that. It's doing it again now. And I want to position this first sphere, which is going to be like the tummy of the snowman. So we're going to position it in the middle of the world. So remember, when you've got your move tool, there's two ways to position at 0, 0, 0 coordinates. You can either right-click your move tool and you get this little thing here where it's got X, Y, and Z, or while you've got it on, you'll see down here the coordinates down here, X and Y and Z. So let's go coordinates 0, 0, 0 for this first sphere. And to do that with 3ds Max, you can actually right click the spinner, which is the two arrows to the side of the coordinates, and that will zero it straight away for you, or you can type it in. So right now, it's sitting right in the middle of our world, basically. And that's okay, but what we want to do, and I'm going to do it in my front view here so you can see it. Okay, so that's in wireframe. I'm just going to change my front view up here to having default shading on it as well so we can see what's going on. And what I want you to do is we're going to, so whenever if you move something and hold down shift, it makes a copy of that. So what we're first going to do is we've positioned the stomach part of the snowman here, and we're going to place it in the right coordinates, which we have. So then we're now going to make a head for our snowman, basically. So that's his tummy and his head. Now there's two ways we can do this. If you go into your front view and grab hold of your move tool and on your Y axis, hold down shift, you can drag out another, hold down shift and push up, you can drag out another sphere. Okay, so that's one way we can do it. I'm going to just cancel that because I'm going to show you another way we're going to do this. Because our sphere, whenever you move something, and moving is also, scaling is also considered to be moving, I can actually grab my scale tool while I've got my tummy large sphere selected and hold down shift, and I can scale down another, hold down shift, and you'll see in your wireframe view, you'll see another a sphere appearing inside that sphere. So make it sort of about two-thirds the size of the first one and let go. And when it says copy, not instance or reference, just copy, go OK. We just want one copy and go OK. So that's how easy it is to make a copy of it, and also a scaled down copy of our first sphere. So again, hit W on your keyboard and move that second sphere out of the first one and have them still touching the body of the tummy of your snowman. So something like that up there on the board there. Okay, maybe a little bit higher up. So it's just got a bit of a neck going in, just a little bit. Okay, so you can scale it down if you want to. If you want to make that top one at a particular size, just go into when it's selected, go into your modify panel and change the radius of this guy because it's scaled down to a different size. For me, I'm just going to put it in at about there. So that's cool. All right. So we now have we've got a head and we've got a tummy for this little snowman. Now this is kind of cool, except for we're going to run into a few other issues because we're going to make a nose for him and we're going to make some eyes for him and a hat. So we need to actually, first of all, before we go any further, we're going to group all these things together. But before we go any further, let's change these parts of the snowman. So if I click on the body of the snowman, I'm going to go over to where it says sphere 001 and I'm going to put in then body and we're going to then change the color from whatever color you've got going to a white to represent the snow color. Okay, so then we've got a white for the snow color. So I clicked the color picker and I changed it to white. And now I'm going to select the head. I'm going to call that head. Head. And I'm also going to go to the color picker and I'm going to change it to a white as well. So we're starting to get there. We've got a body and a head. He's got a big head, but that doesn't matter too much. I'll put him in the front view like that so we can see him a bit better. All right. So what do we need to do next? Well, we need to make some eyes. And we also need to make a bit of a nose for this guy. Now, noses in the snowman are usually like a carrot. So if you go over to your shapes and we go to a cone, all right. Now, before you go any further, what we're going to do is we're going to put this cone in the middle of his head. So it's going to represent his nose. What we're going to do is we're going to use this thing called auto grid. You see up here, it says auto grid. Tick that. And what that means is that when I create this, you see if I run my select and move tool around it, you see that it's sort of sticking to the edge of the snowman. You see that? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to somewhere in the center. We're not being too precise about this, just because we're making a snowman. It doesn't have to be precise. We're going to make basically a carrot nose. So if you draw out the base of the cone, if you remember, in our other views, we can see what's going on. So if I draw out the base of the cone, you see a little funny little grid thing comes on. So there's the base. I'm not going to make it too big, maybe about that big. So I let go of my mouse, and then the next point is you drag downwards to get his nose. You can see in your left view what's happening. If I went that way, up, goes in. We want it to go out, like so. And there's another movement after we click here to make the point of the carrot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click when I'm happy about the nose, whichever size you want for this stage. I'm going to click again and do the third movement of making our cone. And that is to make the point. You see, there it goes that way. We want it to go like so. Not too pointy because it's a carrot. And if we look in our perspective view now, before I go any further, you can see I've kind of got it on sticking on the side of the sphere, if you look at it and spin it around, and that's his nose. So if you're not happy with the size of it, you can turn off auto grid just for now. Okay, and we can go into here and we can change the radius to make it wider or whatever you like, which I'm going to do. And the radius, the size of him, so he's about there, we're going to make him. And that's about all I need to do. Just make some kind of a cone like so. We are now going to hit your W key to deselect the cone making thing. And then we're going to change our cone to nose. We're going to name it nose. And we're going to change the cone to, guess what color? A carrot color. So an orange color would be good. So we'll go with the orange color. So now we've got a cone and we've got our body, and that's just the start of it, isn't it? So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a couple of eyes for this guy as well. And at the same time, we'll put some buttons down the front of him, just because we can. So what I'll do is basically, so what are we going to do to make eyes? So I guess we could put a sphere, but if we use the auto grid and we use a sphere, perhaps we use a hemisphere or a half a sphere. So one of the things about the geosphere, if you click on geosphere, you can actually make it into a hemisphere. If you look in the parameters, if you tick where it says hemisphere, it should just make half a sphere, which is kind of like a button, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to click that guy. And I'm going to draw out one eye. You can either do the left or the right, whichever you like. And I'm going to draw out an eye around about where an eye would be. I'm also going to hit auto grid. Okay, I'm going to hit the auto grid again. And I'm going to draw out the eye like so. You can see it's still following the pattern of the sphere. So I'm going to draw my eye about there. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it out like so. And you'll notice that the hemisphere, the round bit is outside of the body and the flat bit is on the body. So it kind of works out. So, okay, I've drawn out my eye. I'm going to check it. I'm going to turn off Geosphere. I'm going to check to see if it's okay. Yep, that's it. It's stuck to the side and it's a half a sphere. I'm then going to click off Auto Grid just for now. Click off Geosphere for now too by deselecting it. I now have this eye here. Now, the color of these buttons are going to be black. So I'm going to call this eye, and I'm going to turn the color to a black color so we can see it a bit stronger. Okay, there's my eye. All right. So these are just shapes that we've looked at so far, and you can see my eye sitting in there. It's a geosphere. That's all cool. I've got my carrot in the front, which is the orange one. So what I've got to do now, I've got to make the other eye. So instead of just making the other eye, I'm going up to mirror, the mirror tool up here. You see the mirror tool up here? Okay. I'm going to go up to the mirror tool and we're going to work out how to mirror the eye to the other side and see if it all works out right. So let's have a look. So there's our eye. If you look where the other eye is going to be on the x-axis over here, and it's going to be sitting in there somewhere. So we're going to play with the mirror tool for a second. And what it's going to do, it's going to ask me to in this case, it's saying just the X here. See the axis on the mirror tool? It says X. And we don't want a clone, we just want a copy. So not a clone, a copy. And where it says offset, this is where we can push it across to the other side. So if it's sitting on X, all right, we should be able to make a copy that will sit over here, kind of level with the other eye. So you see there, I get the offset, and I just take this spinner, and you see what happens. You look, it's making that mirror, and I'm positioning it on the other side around about where it should be, which is probably about there, about 25 on mine. So I think that might be okay. Let me go and have a look. I'm just going to go okay anyway. So I've okayed it. So now I have a geosphere here and one there. Okay. So if I move around in space to have a look at what I've done, it's kind of worked out all right. It's about the right space. It's still stuck to this. It's a little bit sitting out from the skin, but it's not too bad. That's probably because of the angle of how far it's gone and everything. So I'm going to just cheat a little bit with that one. I'm going to grab that eye and I'm just going to push him in a little bit just to make sure he's sitting on the skin a bit better. Just like that. Okay. Okay. So there you're using the stick to the skin thingy. So that's kind of cool. Okay. So we've got I01 and we've got I1. Just I. And the other one's been named I and it's made a copy. Same name, just called it O1 and same color. So that's cool. All right, so we've done that. So the next bit is while we're here, while we've got the geosphere selected, okay, a hemisphere, I'll just go back in here and grab the geosphere again. And we've got hemisphere here. Let's drag out another, we have to make sure that we've got the auto grid on so it sticks to the grid. Let's put 3 buttons down the front of his belly. So I'm going to go, and they don't have to be in any particular row, it's just for fun. So I've got 1, okay. Now I could use the copy again if I want to, because that's a particular size. I'm going to make this one, for mine, I'm going to make it 7. Okay, and then I'm going to drag another one. Now, probably best to use the front view so I get it right a bit. So I'm going to drag out another guy about just in there in the front. I'm going to drag out another one there. Okay, now we could have used the mirror tool as well, but I know that I made it 7 radius, so I'm going to make them all 7 radius. So I'm going to hit 7 and go 7. And then I'm just going to drag another guy underneath again. So we've got 3 buttons. Reasonably the same in the front. He's not quite in the right spot, but he'll do just there. That's also got to be a 7. So I put in 7. And I'll turn off my auto grid and I'll turn off the geosphere by just hitting W. So the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to color. We're going to make all the buttons in front of him black as well. So I'm just going to select each one of them and I'm not worried. I can call it button 1, 2 if you want to. So I'm going to go button and I'm going to make it black. And I'm going to go button, this one here, I'm going to call that button. That can be 2. I'm going to make him black. And the third one, of course, will be, once I select him, we call him button 3. And I'm going to make him black as well. So we've got 3 buttons, we've got black eyes, we've got 3 buttons down the front. They could have been red, but for this stage we'll um, just make them like that. One of my buttons looks a bit big there, but I won't change the view. That's all right. All right. So at this stage, our snowman is looking okay. We haven't grouped anything together at this stage. We'll do it in a second. So what else do we need on our snowman? Well, in snowman, we need a top hat. And the top hat shouldn't be too difficult for us to make. What you should probably think about is that we might make it in the top view and we'll just drag it up to sit it on top of his head for now, okay? So what do we need to do to make a top hat? We need a cylinder, don't we? A cylinder will make a small cylinder, not a very high cylinder, to make his first the base of the hat. So I'm going to go cylinder, all right? And I don't want too much height to my cylinder, but I'm going to go on the top of him here, and I'm going to drag him up because when I create him, he's going to be down the bottom because we're looking down the top of the snowman. So somewhere in the middle here, roughly in the center. If you see what I'm doing in the top view there, I'm doing this. I'm going to drag out the rim of my cylinder, okay? Now, even though it looks like it's sort of inside the top of the snowman, it's actually creating in the bottom. So I'm going to drag him out like that. Then I'm going to drag him again to give him some height, just a little bit of height for this time. All right, just a bit of height. And then I'm going to click. So what have I got? Let's have a look. Somewhere in there I have a cylinder. So if I hit W and I go up on my Z, okay, and I've got him up here. And I'm going to stick him by looking at my other views around about the top of him so his head's not poking out. So I'll just do one of these. Now he's not very big, this top hat. For me, I haven't made him a very big top hat. I'm going to make him a bit wider. So I'm going to go in, while I've got it selected, I'm going to go into my modify panel. My modify panel. And I'm going to make the radius of this top hat a little bit more wider. So something that will cover him, something like, say, that. Okay. And as far as height goes, I'm going to stick in about 2, I think. Just a little bit thicker. Oh, maybe 3. Make him 3 units. So he's got a bit of stuff going on there. So that's the brim of the hat. And while I'm there, I'm going to just go. I'm going to call it hat B for brim. Hat B, and he's going to be a black color as well. This is like a black and white snowman. So he's black as well. So the next bit is I want to make the top hat part of the hat. So again, I could neither drag out, hang on, I'll get this right. I could neither drag out a copy of that one and reshape it, or what I could do is, it's going to be up the top here. What I could do is just go back into here, go to, sorry, not splines, go to cylinder again, and I'm basically going to do auto grid as well, because then I know it's going to stick on the top of his hat there. And in the top bit here, right in the center, I'm going to drag out the brim of his hat, and it's going to be something a bit smaller than, sorry, not the brim, the top hat part of his hat. So a little bit smaller than the first cylinder that we did. And I'm going to push him up to get a nice height. And then I'm going to click happy. basically. I'm going to turn off my auto grid. I'm going to deselect my cylinder. Deselect the cylinder here. And then I want to just check to see if my cylinder's not too bad. He's not sitting right on inside the top of the the snowman's head. It seems to be sitting up the top, but we'll change that. So what I want to do is with the top part of the hat, I want to call that top hat, and I'm going to change it to black to match. Okay. All right. So we're not too far. We're not too bad there. We're not getting too far from what we're trying to do. So now we're going to do some fancy we're going to do some fancy grouping. I'm just going to grab my brim of my hat and go back to my modifier panel, and I just want to make him a little bit wider, a bit more thicker, just a little bit thicker, like so. And we're going to start to group these things now. So at this stage, it's a very simple thing. I want to move my hat down a little bit, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to group my hat. Now you can group it by selection, or you can group it by, I'll come and show you in a second, Peter. You can group it by selection if you need, by just going like this, selecting two objects and grouping. So I'm going to group the rim of my hat and the top of my hat together first. All right. So if I go up to group, you'll see group. Okay. I'm not going to use it yet because I want to make my selection first. Now I could go in here and select it. That's one way of doing it. I could go hat base and the rest of it. But I'm just going to make a selection and not select anything else except for the top bit of the two parts of the hat, like so. Make sure you don't get his head, just the two parts of the hat selected together. Yeah. So once I've done that, I'm going to go up to group. I'm going to group, and I'm going to call this group pretty basically. I've got the two things selected. I'm going to call them top hat. One word, doesn't matter. We know what it means. Top hat. So now that top hat, those two parts are basically grouped together. They're not joined together, they're grouped together, which means when I move this guy as a group, it will move down into his head, for instance, if I need to. So I'm just going to push him into the head a little bit, like so. And guess what? Because it's not perfect and it's a snowman, let's put a tilt on him, on his head a bit. So what I'll do is, while I've got it selected, I'm going to go to the rotate tool up the top, which is E on your keyboard. And I'm going to rotate him just slightly because he's a bit of a dude. He needs a little bit of an angle. And because I've angled him like that, I might actually just move him over to the center a bit more, like so, like that. And there we have the hat in place. So that's the hat in place, and that's grouped together. That's cool. So let's group the rest of our snowman together. And to do that, we might just use the display up here and group him by the words here. So we've got a body, button, button 2, 3, eye 1, eye, head and nose. So I want to group all those guys together, but instead of just going like this, which would be the easy way, I want to show you how you can group them by name. If I did it like that, that'd be easy because I've got them all together. That's okay. And you can see all of them here selected together in our display section. But I'm going to do it by name this time. And just like most things, if you hit body and you hit you hold down Control, you can add all these parts. Now we don't want to add the head, sorry, the top hat. That's already its own group. But if we group all those guys together like that, select them all in here, body, button, 1, 2, 3, eye, 1, 2, head, nose. I then can go up to group, and I'm going to call him Snowman, Snowman. That'll do. Snowman's body, but Snowman would be good. So now I have two groups. I have what we call Snowman, as you can see up here, and I've got Top Hat. So now if I separated, if I selected the hat, I can take it right off, and that's fine. And I could take the body, and I could take the body away as well, and that's fine as well. So we've got two groups, and that's kind of cool. Okay. Now, do I group the hat to him as well? In this case, I'm not going to, but there's ways of doing this as well. So let's just have a look. We've got two kind of groups. We've got the Snowman group, and make him big so you can see what we got. All right. I'll turn off the, so you can see he's not too bad. Let's do a quick image of our snowman if you've already done it. So that's a very basic way of showing how you can get the shapes together. Let's take a quick image. And how do you do that? Well, we haven't got any materials on there, but we've got representative colors that we'll see if we take a quick image. So if I go up to render, I'm in the perspective view. I've made the snowman. Let's put him into about there on an angle, just like we would in photography. If I go up to this teapot with the little lightning bolt beside it, what it does is renders out me a quick image of the snowman. Now, the background is black, so that's not going to show our hat, is it? We need to change the background for this guy, and that can be done. But I just wanted to show you that how you can make a quick render, and you can save that render if you want to.